In a poll of 517 human resource professionals, 45.8% said that body piercings and tattoos were big personal grooming red flags. Complete parts A through D below. For part A, it says, among the 517 human resource professionals who were surveyed, how many of them said that body piercings and tattoos were big personal grooming red flags? We want to round to the nearest integer as needed. So, for part A, we know that there's 45.8% that said body piercing and tattoos were big personal grooming red flags. So that means we want to take 45.8% of the total sample size, which in this case is 517. So we're going to convert this 45.8% to a decimal. So 0.458 of means multiplication, and we're going to multiply that by 517. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to take 0.458, multiply that by 517, and that gives us 236.786. And it says they want us to round this to the nearest integer as needed. So we need to round up to 237. So this is approximately 237. So that means 237 out of the 517 responded. Therefore, let's go ahead here and put in 237, and there's our answer. Okay, now it says to construct a 99% confidence interval estimate of the proportion of all human resource professionals believing that body piercings and tattoos are big personal grooming red flags. Okay, so I'm just going to write part B here, and then we're going to use StatCrunch. Okay, so let's open up StatCrunch. Alright, so we're going to go to Stat, and then we're going to scroll all the way down to Proportion Stats. We're going to go to One Sample, and then select With Summary, because that's the data that we have is with Summary. Now the number of successes is what we found in Part A. We used this percentage of that amount, which was 237. So we're going to put in 237 for the number of successes, and then the number of observations is going to be 517 because that is the sample size. So I'm going to put 517. Now Part B, they want us to construct a 99% confidence interval. So we're going to select confidence interval and then put in 0.99 as the 99% confidence interval estimate. Let's compute, and then we're going to copy the data and then put it into our notebook. Okay, so you can see here that that 45.8% is the same thing as 0.58, which gives us this here, right? So what we want to do is now determine what is the upper and lower limit of this confidence interval for 99%. So we have our confidence interval, and we're going to round this to 3 decimal places. So this is 0.402 for the lower limit, and then for the upper limit, we're going to round that to 3 decimal places, which is 0.515. So let's go ahead and put that in here. So 0.402 and 0.515. And there is our result. Now in Part C, it says repeat Part B, but we're going to use a confidence level of 80%. So let's go ahead and then put in Part C here. So now we're going to open up StatCrunch again. Okay, so all we need to do now is just go to the options, select edit, and then we still have the same number of successes, the same number of observations. The only thing now is that we want to change the confidence level to be 80%. So that's going to be 0.80. Let's go ahead and select compute, and let's copy this data into our notebook. Okay, so now we have again our upper and lower limits. So let's go ahead and do that with the 80%. So if we round that to 3 decimal places, we have the lower limit of 0.430. And then over here, if we round that to 3 decimal places, we have 0.486. So let's go ahead and do that. So here we have 0.430, and the upper limit is 0.486. And there's our answer. Now the next question says, compare the confidence intervals from parts B and C and identify the interval that is wider, and then why is it wider? Okay, so let's take a look at these two confidence intervals. In this one here, for the 99%, okay, we can see that it starts at 0.402. This is above 0.402, which is 0.430. This is 0.515. This is 0.486. So you can see here that the 99% confidence interval is a lot wider because the lower limit is lower than that, and the upper limit is higher than the upper limit. So we can say that the 99% confidence interval is wider. So it's either going to be A or B. Now, the thing is that if the confidence interval must be wider in order to be more confident so that it captures the true value of the population proportion. So that means it would be more confident. So in our case, we would say that the 99% confidence interval is wider than the 80% confidence interval, and a confidence interval must be wider in order to be more confident that it captures the true value of the population proportion. Well, up here it says to be less than confident, so it's not going to be A. We're going to choose C, and there is our result.